In a musty canvas tent, wind whistling lightly overhead, I spoke of Dunia, a beautiful young Somali refugee who had become separated from her family when soldiers burned her village. A strong woman who had run night and day through winding paths and arid fields. A resourceful woman who had negotiated and bartered her way past border guards en route to the camp. In the moment of utter joy when she was reunited with her mother and sister in the camp. My experiences of working in war-torn countries have lingered like dreams in faraway places. They've always been difficult to bring home. But it was my work as a guide in a refugee camp, a guide complete with tents and homemade toys, water bladders and latrines, medical centers, and a cholera quarantine area that finally allowed me to give voice to these experiences. This MSF simulation refugee camp generated energy even without the refugees, even without the chaos and the odors of thousands of fleeing people. I felt as though I were back in the field with Médecins Sans Frontières, as though finally I was able to bring my experience in global health home. As a refugee, I explained to the huddled visitors in the canvas tent, you would have felt a disturbing tension prior to being forced to flee your home. But you would have lived with this tension for weeks, months, maybe even years. Then suddenly the tension would have escalated. Your father murdered, your uncle disappeared, or news arrived that you or your family have been targeted for elimination. Then you would have had to gather your family and leave. Leave your job, your friends, your extended family. All facets of life would change, usually permanently. I've never met a refugee who has stopped dreaming of returning home. Through my work at home and in international field settings, I've come to see refugees simply as members of my extended global community, and I've come to see world conflicts more through their struggles rather than world news updates. But it has never been easy to share their stories that are often steeped in fear, anger, and sadness. The mock refugee camp transported me back to the field and allowed me to breathe life into refugee stories. Being there allowed me to create a small sanctuary for the harsh realities of refugees. It felt good to know my community heard the stories and in so doing acknowledged some of the world's most difficult struggles. I know it takes courage to remain open to these realities, but these stories bring inspiration to all those who come to listen.